Hello, everyone. How are you all? I hope you're really safe and sound at your homes with your family. So before we start, can we have all your cameras switched on? Because it shouldn't really look like we are presenting to the screens, right? To make a speaker also, feel very comfortable. I would really request all of you to switch on your cameras. It would really be nice to see some faces. We really don't mind if you're in your pajamas or your night suit. So, wow, I see some nice, I see some very nice faces who've been in our previous webinars as well. Thank you for trusting us and then joining us on our next webinars. Thank you, really. So, okay, let's get started. You guys are very cooperative since the start, so that's really nice. And so as of now, I've kept all of you on mute just to, keep the session going on smoothly. I will unmute you all when you raise your hand in case of any interactive session in between that Gian has planned for us, or in the Q&A session. So you can always use the raise your hand feature and then we can just go ahead. So as we all know, we've all gathered here to witness the webinar that's on the Building Green, the future of AEC industry. And I'm your host. My name is Pavitra and I'm from C3. So just to get you a little bit started on the organizers of the webinar, that's the C3 basically. So some of you are already our members and then some of you are going to join, some of you are new to the C3, some of you are not aware of what we do and where we do and all that stuff. So just to give you a little brief, we are an online platform that tries to help professionals from the AEC industry to evolve from a hyperlocal mindset to a global one by providing them amazing opportunities from the project owners all over the world. So with the help of a platform, you can collaborate with all the other AEC professionals, showcase your portfolio as well, and then get projects from clients. And the best part is we are completely online, so you can work from anywhere in the world. I would keep it short and then I will let you all move to our website later. So the website is www.c3collab.com. So you can all have a look at it after our webinar ends. And you might all be wondering why C3 is doing all these free webinars and what do we get from that? So the main point C3 is doing all these webinars is to add more value to our members and to transform our members to become more competent in this industry and to be good enough to work with the clients and their projects. This is really going to help you. And Gian is an amazing building green expert. And then he's going to explain to you all the strategies that you can use and then incorporate. So let's get started. So it's time to introduce our expert speaker. He's here with us. He's Gian Pattarwala. He's architect Gian Pattarwala, as you can all see. He has many accreditations, and then starting from LEED AP, Building Design and Construction, IGBC AP, Gruha CP, and Edge Expert. So as you all know what that stands for, most of you from the architect background in the construction field. And he is also the founding partner of Building Zero Consultants. They are high performance design solutions for the built environment. And he's also worked previously with Esteem Design Services LLP, a multidisciplinary architect firm, as an architect and grid and building analyst. And he believes that every building should be made with care, that's climate responsive design, affordable and ambient, resilient, and energy efficient, and to respond to this context. He also believes that it is imperative to create designs that carefully consider the environmental impact of construction and use renewable resource to reduce conventional energy resource consumption. So he also graduated, he holds an architect degree and he graduated from Sarvajanik College of Engineering and Technology in June 2017. So instead of me taking all over the space, I think we should give it to Gian and then he should take over. Let's hear it from the man himself. Hi, Gian. Gian, I think you're in mute.
Yeah.
That's right. I'll let you share the screen. Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
Okay. Let me try and share.
That's
okay,
right.
perfect. I can.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Pavitra, for doing a round of introduction for me. It was really great. And I can now start with my presentation. So I just don't want this to be a monologue, but rather a dialogue. And which is why I have included many slides where around 60 people will be participating as of now. And we'll be using Slido as a platform. So everyone, please go to slido.com, and you will see that you can enter a code, and just enter seed tree there. All right. We'll not just you. We'll be using the Slido in 1 or 2 minutes after I just give my brief introduction. All right. So my journey until now, I've been engaged with 9 IGBC Platinum rated projects, 10 other projects I'm working on currently. I worked on the greenest interior office in India, which was rated by IGBC, which is in Surat. I worked with the project team who made the greenest house in India, again in Surat, which received 75 out of 75 credits. I worked on a project again in Surat, first in Gujarat and second in India. It was a net zero energy building project. I just recently completed this project for the Diamond Company, and now it's the first carbon neutral company in India, at least, and I think third in the world. And this is the kind of footprint that I have worked on till now. And I'm currently working on 25 lakh square feet kind of space. Worked on green school, green office, factory, industrial city, existing building homes, in existing buildings, net zero energy building. And I've done carbon footprint analysis for company and product. And the most proud that I am about all of these things is that I love interacting with students as well as like-minded professionals. So I'm looking forward to this. All right. So we have our first question. Um, I've twisted the title a little, from green building to building green, because I believe that green building, when you hear, you get a little deviated from what actually green building means. So it can be blue as well. It can be white as well. So there are different colors to building green. So all right. So we already have one word. So I just want you to go there and let me know what comes to your mind when you hear the word building green. So as many people answer the same word, the larger the word will be on my screen. So I want everyone to participate. There's only 2 people who have answered until now. So yeah, people feel that building green is sustainability. Okay, great. Renewable is a word. Sustainable is again a word. Okay, go on, guys. Uh, I would love some interaction here. I would just wanted to understand, what do you feel about it? When someone asks you कि मुझे green building बनानी है, what do you tell the client, or what do you expect out of that project? Okay, so yeah, reuse of material probably. Energy efficient is again another synonym that is used quite often. Less carbon footprint. Wonderful. Someone's writing on the screen. Guys, use the platform of Slido. Just use the QR code or go to the slido.com and put in seed tree. Okay. Environmental friendly is receiving. Okay. Carbon neutral, long lasting. Hey, I mean, 10 people have participated until now, and I want more people to participate in this. Because if we collectively have a vision and an understanding of a topic on which we are going to discuss today, it would be great, so that we're all on same page. I think there are people typing in the chat box as well. Okay. Water efficiency, someone, what environmental friendly, eco-friendly. Okay. Slido.com, guys, slido.com. Saving of ecology. All right, great. Zero carbon footprint, Daylit. Okay. So yeah, I mean, collectively at this point, just a second, guys. I forgot my. Okay. Sorry. All right. Yeah. All right. Reuse waste construction material. Okay. Okay. Green buildings operational cost is too less, and natural sources like light, sunlight, wind. Oh, that thing went away, but yeah. Good landscape, upcycling. All right. So yeah, at this point, the most answers we've received so far is for lesser carbon footprint. Okay, great. Wonderful. All right. So guys, keep answering. We'll just wait for 1 more minute, and I'll just close this up then. All right. Carbon neutrality is receiving long lasting. Okay, great. All right. All right. So yes, whatever you see on your screen, whatever words we've got so far, everything relates with building green. So building green is actually all of these are synonyms rather. That is what I would say. Okay. So let's see a video there. I'll just go to my next slide. Okay. So this video is from National Geographic, and it talks about the causes and effects of climate change. Avita, is there any way we can get rid of this doodle? Annotate.
I
I'm
think
not.
you will have the control because you're screen sharing. Do you
Okay.
see any controls
Okay.
to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Oh, sorry. All right. Let's see this video together, and then there is another poll. So let's watch this video together. Till then, I'll go to the chat box.
Human activities, from pollution to overpopulation, are driving up the Earth's temperature and fundamentally changing the world around us. The main cause is a phenomenon known as the greenhouse effect. Gases in the atmosphere, such as water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and chlorofluorocarbons, let the sun's light in, but keep some of the heat from escaping, like the glass walls of a greenhouse. The more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the more heat gets trapped, strengthening the greenhouse effect and increasing the Earth's temperature. Human activities, like the burning of fossil fuels, have increased the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere by more than a third since the Industrial Revolution. The rapid increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has warmed the planet at an alarming rate. While Earth's climate has fluctuated in the past, atmospheric carbon dioxide hasn't reached today's levels in hundreds of thousands of years. Climate change has consequences for our oceans, our weather, our food sources, and our health. Ice sheets, such as Greenland and Antarctica,
Sorry, guys.
are melting. The extra water that was once held in glaciers causes sea levels to rise and spills out of the oceans, flooding coastal regions. Warmer temperatures also make weather more extreme. This means not only more intense major storms, floods, and heavy snowfall, but also longer and more frequent droughts. These changes in weather pose challenges. Growing crops becomes more difficult. The areas where plants and animals can live shift, and water supplies are diminished. In addition to creating new agricultural challenges, climate change can directly affect people's physical health. In urban areas, the warmer atmosphere creates an environment that traps and increases the amount of smog. This is because smog contains ozone particles, which increase rapidly at higher temperatures. Exposure to higher levels of smog can cause health problems such as asthma, heart disease, and lung cancer. While the rapid rate of climate change is caused by humans, humans are also the ones who can combat it. If we work to replace fossil fuels with renewable energy sources like solar and wind, which don't produce greenhouse gas emissions, we might still be able to prevent some of the worst effects of climate change.
All right. All right. So now that you've seen that we are capable to change the climate that we've, uh, I wouldn't say we've destroyed or something like that, but we've made a large impact drastically. So just go to this poll now and let me know that if you think building green or making green buildings would protect the environment or make it climate resilient, any of those words. I just want to know what people are feeling at this point. It can be kinda, yeah, maybe I'm not sure. Probably by the end of the webinar, I'll realize that, yeah, it is possible. I hope no one's saying no, not at all until now. So that's great. Guys who've joined later, just go to the slido.com and put in under the hashtag a seed tree. All right. So, all right, I won't be able to see what you're doing on the chat. I'll try. Okay, someone says two, kinda. Okay, thanks, Sohel. All right, so I'll wait for 30 answers and then make a conclusion here. Guys, come on. Uh, uh, I want more answers here. What do you think? This is important moving forward. If we believe that building green or making green buildings or any of the words that we use while defining building green is possible to protect the environment. Okay. All right. So yes. What's the code for Slido? The code is C3. Pritam. All right. I think collectively, people believe that it is possible to protect the environment if we become cautious. Not at all is someone, one person, I think one person had said not at all. Okay, no problem. All right. Okay. But most of them believe. So let's go to the next slide. All right. So now let's define what does building green mean. So building green projects or any uh, is about making choices with the goal of reducing building related carbon emissions to counter the increasing impacts of climate change. Making choices is something that I would stress on because ultimately any strategy that you come across, if you're not making that choice of doing something different than the usual or the one that is having the largest impact, you will not be able to build green. So it is the creation of choices at the beginning of the project, the evaluation of choices during the design process, the making of choices with the owner, who's the most important person, the documentation of choices and drawings and implementation of choices during construction. So it includes entire life cycle of the project or the design. So now people said sustainability is also something that is building green. So let us see what is sustainability in the context of building green. Sustainability is about the promises of things that will last, buildings with long and useful lives, forms of energy that are renewable, communities that endure. So green building is about turning um, the promises of sustainability into reality. So what can a green building look like? Okay. So if you see the image, you'll see that this is something that we can say that this is a green building. So it has enhanced ventilation. Fresh air is a biggest issue that we forget to design for rather, that is what I would say. Rooftop plantings, so green roofs is responsible again, which minimize the impact of heat island. Water conservation could be one of them. Motion detect sensors controlling the light as well as AC or anything. The building materials, what kind of materials we use will define whether it's a green building or not. The systems of heating and cooling, the rainwater storage that we do and reuse it again, or the recycling of water, uh, high efficiency light fixtures. Everyone has shifted probably to LED. but still it's a feature that we need to be careful about. Building orientation is probably the primary thing that we should be focusing on. If we get that right, then anything that we do later on, we will probably have to live with that decision that we've made of how to orient. So we will not be able to probably use the passive features that the climate has where you are building. So it's an essential step, and could have solar panels are an active system, but first passive and then active system. So this is what a building green means, or a green building means, right? All right. So why do we need to build green? We saw an entire video. I don't need to probably tell you why, but these are the important considerations that together, if you see the diagram figure 7, then it showcases that 39% of all the carbon emissions in the world uh, are coming from the building industry. 28% out of it is operational carbon, and 11% is the embodied carbon emission. So operational emissions means that the energy that we use to heat, cool, and light up the buildings, and embodied carbon means that the carbon that is associated with the materials and construction process throughout the life cycle of the building. So this is probably one of the largest or biggest reasons why we need to build green. We need to lower the impact in the overall contribution of the buildings, right? Okay. So you would have heard a lot of, so someone also used the word carbon neutral in the earlier definition. So just want to reiterate here what it means and why moving forward, we have targets for carbon neutral buildings or net zero carbon buildings. So essentially what it means is that there are two major sources like we discussed on the last slide, embodied carbon as well as operating carbon. And then once you've optimized both of them, you can do a carbon offset, and that is possible by carbon sequestration or renewable energy production. Okay, so this is something that we'll be focusing on, and which is quite essential. All right. So now we know that why it is important, what is green building, who's responsible for making this green building. So conventionally, what used to happen and what should happen in an integrated design process is something that we should focus on. In the conventional process, an architect is firstly assigned on the project rather than any other consultant. Consultants majorly come later on the part, or the engineers or landscape people or anyone comes very later. So this is what generally used to happen. But if you are making a green project, then everyone needs to follow an integrated design process where all the stakeholders are identified very early in the design stage so that they can work towards a common project goal. And that could be probably, let's say, I want to make my building carbon neutral. I want to make a platinum rated building. I want my occupants to always feel thermally comfortable. Any of those targets are possible, but that it needs to be accounted for in the initial project meeting. What happens when you do that? So if you see the diagram on the left, that is showing the impact of integrated design process. So the earlier that you have all the people on board, the cost for modification or changes later in the project are lesser. So opportunities for impact are the highest in the beginning if everyone's on the board, and that is the most cost effective. Now, if you see how people actually interact in the integrated design process, then just see the cloud. Like there's a common goal in the integrated process, typical process. Everyone has its own goal. मुझे project में से ये चाहिए. It's not that the client wants or collectively we want something. Okay. So this explains that who will be making the project a green project. Okay. So now this is the most important question. सबने कर लिया डिसाइड कि मेरे को ग्रीन बिल्डिंग बनाना है, we want to do X number of things, but how would you gauge the greenness of a building or a project? Is there any standard way to do it, or there are possible ways to do it? Let's look at some. So you see the first diagram. So there is a comparison between a building, your building, and a hypothetical standard which is developed. Buildings of a similar type you can compare with, or an absolute standard like ASHRAE or any or something like that, which defines के base case क्या है, proposed case क्या है, and then you say that I've lowered it this much. Or is it based on the actual consumption of the energy? What should it be based on? How should we be judging that the building is green? Should it be based on the similar type of buildings in your context or in your neighborhood or in your city? Should it be compared against some absolute standard, or should it be compared with itself? So year on year, there should be a reduction. So I want you guys to go again on Slido and answer this very essential question of how do we do these things? So how would you measure the greenness of a building? कोई rating follow करनी चाहिए? Compare it with the performance of other buildings, like how much energy that particular building consumes or the water it consumes. Actual buildings impact with the performance of other buildings of similar type. Owner satisfaction is essential. And if there's something that is not listed in the 4 options, you can answer that in the chat box. But I want everyone to answer this. This is very crucial moving forward. And the answer to this will tell you why we have things to gauge the greenness of a building in the market, and what are those majorly. Okay. And once we reach 30 people who've answered, I want people in each option category to tell me why they thought that this should be the way out. Option 1. Okay. All right. Okay, so majorly until now we have people saying that we should be comparing with a rating or a standard. Okay. But we have people who are saying actual buildings impact over a period of time in the past. Okay, great. All right. So people who have answered that first option, please unmute yourself and tell me why it should be that. Anyone, I mean, I cannot know in this who've answered what, but I'm leaving it open because I just want to understand why it is essential that the first why it is essential to compare it with ratings or standards. Anyone, guys? Come on, guys. I just want to hear what you are thinking.
So GM, they'll have to raise a hand and then I'll have to unmute them. So they have to use the raise your hand feature. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So we have Akshay Kumar Tyagi over here.
All right. Yeah, Akshay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the reason why we should be comparing with ratings or standards because these ratings or standards, have been set by agencies who monitor the efficiency of a greenness of a building on a very periodic basis.
Okay.
So these becomes sort of a very set methodologies to help us understand how a building is quantified and qualified as a green building.
Okay. Understood. Yeah, I mean, because they are the research or think tank and they engage the stakeholders and then they have made that document. So yeah, collectively, yes, one of the strategies is that. Thank you so much, Akshay. Akshay, if you are there, just want to ask you about the other 2-3 options. I mean, will it encompass within the rating, which is why you haven't answered the other answers?
Can you just repeat that?
So I'm saying that the owner satisfaction is also very essential. So do you feel
Correct.
that is already covered in the rating, which is why you haven't answered that?
Yeah, because the agencies like LEED, Greha, they have a huge number of checkpoints on where they analyze the same.
Okay.
So definitely, I mean, when a agency like these give you some sort of credibility, then the owners are themselves, pretty much satisfied. And you see in a lot of commercial buildings, they use this as a marketing tool as well to project their buildings as a LEED certified or a Greha certified, which themselves give a sort of satisfaction with the results.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thanks, Akshay, for sharing. So Akshay is saying that it becomes
Thank
a
you.
project goal, which everyone follows. That is, we have to achieve an X rating, and where we comply with all the other part. Do we have any other person who has answered B, like actual buildings impact over a period of time in the past? 46% people have said that. So anyone who has answered that, can you please unmute yourself?
We have Preetham here.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but I actually answered the first one
Okay.
because yeah,
So,
and I am really in line with the opinion said by Akshay.
okay.
And because these agencies like LEED, IGBC, and Griha, they actually have a long list of very micro monitoring system of each and every equipment and systems we have installed in a building. And obviously, the other points you have other options you have mentioned, like the actual building's impact and the other performance of the other buildings and owner satisfaction. They are also necessary. But if you ask me on the priority basis, I will go with the first one because this is I think this is the only way, and as some to make your building green on very small steps, like with each and every micro steps you have to take. So these agencies actually enlist those. So that is
Okay.
why I
It
actually choose.
encompasses everything, basically. If
Yeah,
you choose a particular rating system, more or less it covers everything that you will need to cater to, is what
correct,
something that we
correct.
can strive for. All right. Uh, Pavitra, do we have anyone else? Thank you so much.
We have Nidhi Patel.
Yeah, Nidhi, go ahead. Are you there with us?
Hello,
Hello?
Nidhi. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. 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 Nidhi, we are not able to hear you well. Um, hello? Nidhi, can you hear us?
Because of
Pavitra, are you able to hear her?
No,
I
no.
cannot.
I think there's some internet issue with her
There's
side.
someone else on the call as well who has raised the hand.
Shaifali Sood.
Okay, okay. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I think the ratings do not include demolition phase of a building.
Okay.
So that's why I chose this actual building's impact over the period of time.
In the past. Okay. Are you talking about some particular rating or collectively all the ratings? They don't cover demolition at all.
I'm not sure about all the ratings, but I think IGBC does not
Okay.
talk about that.
Okay. So straight away it does not tell you that, but it tells you that if you utilize salvage materials, out of which one of the biggest factors is utilizing the same structure, they mean to say that it is the same thing, that you reuse the building or not. I feel this is the part. Demolition, I agree. That is straight away not under the control of any rating systems. But I mean, in the years ahead, you will see there's a lot of importance on the embodied carbon. And probably there will be codes. Like if a building is 20 years old and I mean it has not lived its full life, then probably you might not be able to demolish that building. So yeah, I mean that's true. I understand that part. Okay, thanks so much, Chef Ali. All right. Anyone else? Or we'll take one more. Do we have anyone?
I think that's it. I think we lost Nidhi. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, okay. We'll connect with her later.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So thank you so much. I mean, I really enjoyed this uh, conversation, and I just wanted to understand what people are thinking. And yes, I think following some rating set up by any of the bodies will keep you on a track that you don't forget anything. Sometimes we just do one part and we don't see how it relates with the other part. Like let's say we focus on water, we focus on energy, we completely ignore materials. So collectively, if we think, then yes, I mean those are important. So this was a study done by World Green Building Council and how it relates with the Sustainable Development Goals. So there are 17 goals, out of which if you make a green building, you're already, I will not say complying, but you're already contributing towards 9 of those goals. So good health and well-being. So obviously there is a focus on the indoor environmental quality if you make a green building. So you comply with that. Use renewable and affordable energy. So they tell you to have as much as clean energy generation on site, and it also tells that you can buy clean power from the grid. Building green, so it creates a lot of new jobs, and you would have heard in so many uh, discussions across the globe that this will create so many new jobs. So in all these sectors, like people who will be making newer products, people who are already making solar panels, people who are managing these kind of projects. So everyone is benefited there. Green building can spur innovation. That is what we talked about. Green buildings are the fabric of sustainable communities and cities. So each of the green building project is a larger whole of a community or a city. And if we start having if you see the impact of one building in the neighborhood, uh, then that will be felt by the people. Uses circular principles, so life cycle analysis of product, the environmental product declaration. So responsible making of products is something that will also be enhanced. Green buildings produce fewer emissions. So obviously, it's the greatest tool to combat climate change. It improves biodiversity, saves water resources, and yeah, it's a great tool to have partnerships across the globe. Okay. So what I have done is that I have not, I'm not going to talk about the particular rating that you can pick to make any project a green project, but I'm going to talk about 5 major categories which you can follow for any of the projects. And those are basically it is spread across 2 categories basically. So one is concentrating on the reduction of consumption of fossil fuels and rethinking the built environment with the future of climate change in mind. So reuse is something that is the first thing that we should be thinking about. So any building which is already built uh, is green if you reuse it. Okay, because you've saved a ton of resources there. Second is about the size and shape of those buildings. So that would mean the proportion, the location where it is built, kind of fenestration in the openings that we create, how we orient the building on site, and how much do we build? Is it that we build as much as the FSI allows, or do we build only as much as we need? So that is need versus the greed equation. What kind of materials do we use? How much waste reduction do we do? Um, and what kind of construction method do we adopt? that we generate lesser waste? And what kind of recycling or recyclable materials do we use? Water and energy are obviously the second most, I mean, the other categories that we need to focus on. And we'll see that what each of these means. Okay. So just let's move to reuse. So extending the life of existing structures can significantly reduce embodied carbon compared to the new construction. So 46% of reusing, I mean, if you are reusing the building, then the environmental impact can straight away be reduced by 46%. So I think Shefali said that, I'm not sure who said it, but demolition will get covered here because you are reutilizing the same building. So there could be 5 different strategies that can be adopted. Building upgrade, so upgrade of system or the envelope or any kind of resource use. Expansion, adding to a building's footprint. We'll see examples of all of it. So these are the 5 strategies. So building upgrade is the first one. So this was an old building of Ambuja Cement corporate office. So I think it is already 40 or 50 years old and they needed a major upgrade. So they pulled out the facade and they redid the facade and systems and everything, but the structure was intact. So this is something that you should be doing if you have an existing building on site. Okay. These are the other 2 projects which underwent the same kind of upgrade. So some had system changes, some had facade changes, some had glass changes. So any of those changes which will improve the performance of a building. This is a very iconic project. This is a project of Zayadi, Antwerp New Port House. So you directly see that there's so much of a correlation of whatever we talked about. So there's adaptation, there's upgrade, there's repositioning. So repositioning actually means of how that building was interacting earlier with the community nearby. So its image or the kind of usage of the building. So it undergone expansion, but did not disturb the main structure. And a new structure was added on top of the existing one. So it follows probably all the rules that we just talked about. This kind of adaptive reuse is also another strategy. So this is a shed which was converted into an office. And this is like the most amazing space to be in because there's so much daylight. Everything is probably reused and there's so much openness in the structure. The flexibility of the structure made it possible that it can be converted into any use later in the project life. Second project is about a Zara store in Mumbai. This entire building's facade was restored and some structural changes were made inside. And now it's an entire boutique store. Earlier, I think it was a bank. And if you are creating buildings which are flexible enough for the future, then nothing like it, because we talked that 48% is of the environmental impact is what you can save if you are creating or reusing the same structure. I'll just have some water, sorry. So we come to size and shape. This is probably related with all the new projects. So all the optimizing the physical form of a building is one of the greatest opportunities to minimize embodied and operating energy. Okay. So we talked about integrated design process. So if everyone is on board, who can contribute towards making this effort of reducing the energy usage by the help of size and shape of the built form, then that is a strategy that should be adopted firstly before doing anything else. So where your building is located, where right sizing we talked about, how the building's proportion is, surface to volume ratio, orientation, fenestration, and the details mean sun shades or overhangs. So if your project is located in a mixed use neighborhood, we are realizing that in COVID times. Earlier, if you see, people used to travel to one part of the city for their job, and they used to stay probably at least 15, 20, or in some cases 2 hours far away, right? And even in the Western world, there used to be a concept. I mean, there is still a concept of CBD, and then there is the housing, a different locality, suburb. So there was not mixed use neighborhood earlier, but now there is a focus on that, and it should be located along the transport lines, like public transport. So you see something on the right that Mumbai, I think, I think, benefits out of it, and it is very essential for that city. Orientation. This is again one project in Mumbai. So there were two towers of 45 and 55 floors, and the north and the south facade had major openings. East and the west facade had very limited openings. So this is something that, if you look at the climate, this tells you about the what kind of passive features you can adopt, and what kind of orientation, plan form, window to wall ratio, anything that you can straight away adopt from. This is another project which is also oriented along north and south. There's natural ventilation happening. Then there is the roof which is facing south, and it generates uh, solar clean energy. And so uh, orientation is very essential, is something that wanted to say. Uh, Sixth is the proportion. So if you see, there are so many towers which are being made, and the aerodynamics of the towers is very essential, because it has a huge impact on the structural as well as the wind load. So the more aerodynamic it is, the lesser the materials will be usage, and this way you can also contribute towards making a project or taking a project towards green. Right sizing. This is very essential again. Like in an office or in any project, let's say you make a bedroom. So there is a standard which is followed always, like 10 by 10 का होना चाहिए, 12 by 10 का होना चाहिए. और वो क्यों होना चाहिए? If you question that, you will understand that probably the bed size is something that is taken care of firstly, and that is whatever circulation space and cupboard or anything furniture, after keeping the furniture you are left with. So if it is oversized, then first what you are doing is increasing the volume, and by increasing the volume are also contributing towards increase in the cooling load or the heating load. So that straight away relates to the energy usage. So we need to be careful about how we size the any space rather. Fenestration and details. So details here means the shading of the facade. Earlier, if you see, I mean, the photo is a little small here on the slide, but uh, there was an existing building, and on top of that, 4 more floors were added, as well as the entire facade was changed. So after doing that, sun exposure has been limited, but also there is an increase in daylight. So fenestration change and details added to the thermal comfort inside the space, which is something that needs to be taken care of in all the projects. Focus on materials now. So materials, so he said that in the next 20 years in India, we'll be making twice the buildings that we have currently. So according to the material requirement, we will probably have 49% of the emissions due to embodied carbon in new construction. So that's a quite high number. So what should we be focusing on? Local materials. This range is specified 400 kilometers, but it is not uh, a hard rule, but rather it can be something that your project is wanting to have. So it can be 200 kilometers or based on the availability of the materials as well. How much percentage of the material are you buying from within that range, and where are you going out? Uh, or I've shown an image on the left because I think the largest contributor for carbon footprint is the marbles that used to come from Italy or any other Spain or any other place. So you need to be aware of the carbon footprint of this and choose accordingly. Recycle content material. So there are two types of materials basically: post-consumer waste materials and post-industrial waste. So we'll look at it. So bottles, uh, post-consumer corrugated tiles, roofing sheets, post-consumer glass tiles, and post-industrial waste, bagasse wood, fly ash blocks that we have. Yeah, there are so many different materials, and typically the recycle content in any material means that it was a waste, but it was now being used in a material to enhance the property as well as reduce the waste, which would have gone into landfill. So in steel, what is happening now is they add old steel into making the new steel, that is virgin iron ore. They mix the old steel. MDF again, 30 to 50% is something that is there because of the usage of wooden chips or something like that, and it is compressed together. So different materials and different recycled contents, and this keeps on fluctuating. So you need to be aware which vendor is giving you what. One project in our context, it is Esteem's office. So there you can see of how it was, how the waste was reused on site in different ways. Somewhere it turned into railing, somewhere it turned into mailboxes, somewhere it turned into partitions. So different ways of utilizing recycled material. Efficient construction. I think we haven't quite progressed a lot, specifically in India, to these technologies, but it is coming soon. 3D printed houses, prefabricated cross-laminated timber or prefabricated uh, concrete structures or anything. I mean, it's on the way, and this will save us a lot of materials wastage that happens on site, and which is why it is essential that as designers or AEC professionals, uh, we develop a capacity to deliver something like this. Then we'll focus on water, on why water is important for adapting to the impacts of climate change, and what are the strategies that we can adopt. So this image on the right, I think it's an age-old wisdom that we used to create step wells, but now we don't have that on the projects. So what can we do? Either we can have a collection pond or a storage tank, or we can recharge the groundwater. So there could be a percolation pit, or we can make a bore well and recharge the bore, and then probably reuse that water again later. Water efficient fixtures. These are very readily available in the market, and it's something that uh, a conscious choice will let you do this straight away. So in the initial definition, we talked about making choices. So just keep that in mind and see if these are not choices and if this is something else, because everything relates to the choice and the responsibility you take. Okay, so these are readily available, the aerators in the market that you can change in the existing fixtures, as well as sensor based newer fixtures, waterless urinals, dual flush systems, gray water reuse or black water reuse. STPs are uh, becoming like a standard application in projects. Probably water metering has not happened yet in some cities, but in probably cities like Bombay, Chennai, uh, you are starting to have those water meters. So you pay as much as you use, and which is why it will become important that you reuse the water that you've been using in landscape, or even go to an extent where you can reuse it for potable purpose. I think if technology is evolving, and I think we can move on those lines. This I've included because I visited this project. This is in Bangladesh. This is called the floating school, and so you see a river nearby in the left uh, photo, and so this is in a very high floodplain zone. But since the client only had this space to make the school, because it was cheap as well as it needed to be in the community where kids were not getting education. So the architect came up with a normal solution that the structure can float. And he made this design. If you see on the right, then there are steel barrels. So when the water comes in, this structure is still accessible, and this was a direct address to the rising in sea levels. So I mean, just wanted to keep this project here so that uh, we uh, have benign solutions like this for our projects as well, with the complexities it comes in. We focus on energy. Buildings somewhere contribute around 48% in the total energy use. It's the figure that I've shown for US, but I think it's similar for India as well. And where all are we using energy in tropical countries? So majorly 50 to 60% goes in air conditioning, lighting 16 to 20, equipments and other will contribute to around 30%. So first is about reduction of energy, then generation of energy, then storing the energy, and procurement of energy from the grid, which is cleanly generated. Okay. So reduction in energy is essential. So earlier we followed this principle, like form follows function, but now I think it has evolved to form follows function and performance. Okay, and this I think has come from the. I mean, I like to relate it this way, that whenever you go and buy a car, you ask, "Bhai, kitna deti hai gaadi? How much is the average or the mileage?" So if we start asking the same thing for our buildings when we make it, then everyone will know kiski building better hai. Okay, so this approach needs to come, because while we design, we need to set targets. That probably my building will only utilize this amount of energy, and everyone will feel comfortable. So that will take into account the passive features and later the active features. So this is very essential. 17 is about on-site, off-site renewable energy generation. So this building is an office building in Seattle, the Bullitt Center. So they had to take special permission in order to extend the roof to the margins. Uh, I don't know where we can go and do the same thing with the municipal corporations. But if we had to do this, we need to explain them why we are doing this. So this building generates around 105% of the energy that it consumes, and which is why I think they were able to convince that this building is gonna add to the grid, then consume uh, generally like what it happens. Electricity storage is not still a huge part of our buildings, but in the future, whenever Tesla comes in or any other company pops in, we will have these kind of solutions. This is essential because there is a lot of transportation and distribution loss, firstly. And secondly, we still rely on coal-based power plants. So the efficiency of those plants in generating electricity and transportation and distribution loss is quite high. So if you save 1 unit of energy in your house, then probably you are saving two at the source. So if you're, so this is that consideration. This is very essential again, considering not only COVID times, but spaces where you cannot have fresh air supply directly by ventilation. You need to have fresh air supply through treated fresh air units. So if you have in your space just in I mean the unitary air condition or split system, that is not giving you fresh air. So first we need to understand that, and then deploy these kind of systems as well, because it enhances the indoor air quality, and you will feel much fresher in this space, because there's new air pumping in every time. Okay. Again, the importance of having indoor plants to improve air quality. I think everyone would have probably seen this video by Kamal Mietal. He's a guy from Delhi. So in his own Paharpur business center, he has proven that you can grow fresh air by installing 4 different types of plant that he got from his study in NASA. So, I mean, we need to integrate more into our spaces, and that could be in the interior spaces as well as the courtyard spaces or the exterior spaces. Lastly, I think this is a studio of CEPT University, where you see that daylight is penetrating into the studio, and I don't think they ever use the light in this space, except obviously when they're working at night. So daylight performance is very important, and now we have tools to analyze whether we are receiving daylight according to the design and what we can do to enhance. Okay, so this was a study done on some project which I was working on, and it showcases the difference with the use of light pipe and without the use of light pipe. So without, you can see that there are red patches in the between, and with the usage of light pipe, those red patches are gone. So essentially, if you are making a sustainable project, then what you should be concentrating on is passive features first, and microclimate creation first, and then moving to the active systems. So it tells you what the environmental gain is and what the financial investment is. The higher you go, the more you invest, and largest possibilities in the initial stage of the design. Okay. So I'm done with my strategies. Now I have 2 videos. One of it is by Antonio. He is the UN Secretary General, if I'm not wrong. So I just want you to see this video, and I'll be playing the video now.
Today, I'm appealing for leadership from politicians, from business and scientists, and from the public everywhere. We have the tools to make our actions effective. What we still lack, even after the Paris Agreement, is the leadership and the ambition to do what is needed. And what makes all of this even more disturbing is that we were warned. Scientists have been telling us for decades, over and over again, and far too many leaders have refused to listen. And far too few have acted with the vision the science demands. And we see the results. In some situations, they are approaching scientists' worst-case scenario. The world's richest nations are the most responsible for the climate crisis, yet the effects are being felt first and worst by the poorest nations and the most vulnerable peoples and communities. Existing technologies are waiting to come online: cleaner fuels, alternative building materials, better batteries, and advances in farming and land use. And these and other innovations can have a major role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, so we can hit the Paris targets and inject the great ambition that is so urgently needed. Let us use the next year for transformational decisions in boardrooms, executive suites, and parliaments across the world. Let us raise our sights, build coalitions, and make our leaders listen. There is no more time to waste. As the ferocity of this summer's wildfires and heat waves shows, the world is changing before our eyes. We are careering towards the edge of the abyss. It is not too late to shift course, but every day that passes means the world eats up a little more and the cost of our inaction mounts. Every day we fail to act is a day that we step a little closer towards a fate that none of us want. A fate that will resonate through generations in the damage done to humankind and life on Earth. Our fate is in our hands. The world is counting on all of us to rise to the challenge before it is too late. I count on you all.
I hope that was inspiring. And based on this video, which I saw, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and the opportunity that I had to create a difference, I planned my wedding as a carbon neutral event. And I took a leadership and a stand that I also want to spread this mission and contribute towards it. So this is just a short video of 3 to 4 minutes. I want to share this before I open up for Q&A. I hope you will like this, and please let me know what you think about it later. Just a second. Okay. Come on. Why isn't it working? Okay. Just a second, guys. This usually works. Okay.
As soon as I realized the impact of built environment on climate change, I was so sure that I want to contribute towards making about carbon neutral wedding. When I was discussing my work with my to-be wife, she also pointed out that if buildings can become green, why can't the events we celebrate become green as well? On hearing this, I knew I had found the perfect one. So the first step is to measure electricity consumption at the venue at the hotel, the gas consumption for cooking at the venue and the hotel, the fuel consumption for transportation via air, road, rail, bus routes, and diesel consumed for DG sets at the venue. How to reduce these event-related CO2 emissions? First step that was very, very necessary was to reduce the travel distance by locating the hotel for the guests, the wedding venue and reception venue within 1 kilometer radius, and it was walking distance from my house itself. Have a digital invite rather than paper invites or cardboard invites. We had all daytime events planned except Sangeet to save electricity and use natural light. We said no to single-use plastic, no firecrackers to curb air pollution. Access food was donated to the people in need, and LED lighting instead of halogen for nighttime events. I use an electric car as my wedding car to spread the message of shifting to cleaner fuels to reduce carbon emission. And a green artificial turf car was also used to spread the message of growing trees, and educational signages were placed inside the wedding events. You can clearly see by these calculations that we were able to convert our wedding into a carbon negative event and an inspiration to look up to. So this is me participating in a tree plantation program. We adopted around 100 trees. And the other program that we wanted to participate in was to install water aerators. And let's go green before the green goes. Thank you.
All right, guys. This is all from my end. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did interacting with you. And a few words for me, if you want to write, you can still go to Slido or write it in the chat box, whatever is comfortable to you. And I'll hand it over to
Yeah.
Pavitra. Sorry.
That's fine. So we have a few comments about.
Okay.
Let me just read it for you. Are you able to see it in the chat box?
Yeah, I'm just seeing it. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the most inspiring was your wedding video. Like, it's really inspiring for all the youth over here, right?
Yeah, I hope it gave you some inspiration. I mean, yes, that was the entire reason why I showed you this, because sometimes people think that ek banda kya kar lega.
That's
And
right.
I mean, putting it to action was something that was very much required, such that if anyone's wanting to bring a large change, then it is possible, guys.
Some of us didn't even know this was possible in India, like the green cars and stuff, everything like not
Yeah.
easily sourceable, right? You really made it happen. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I'll just start taking some questions.
Yeah, right.
What is the tool for analyzing daylighting? I think,
You can all use the raise your hand feature, then I'll unmute you guys.
yeah, that's also there. I'll just start answering from the chat box.
Sure, sure.
What is the tool for analyzing daylighting? The one that you saw in the picture was Revit and Insight, but there are quite a few other tools as well which is available. So if you want to know, I think you can connect with me later. I'll tell you what you can use. Thanks, Yogesh. I'm glad you enjoyed this. Oh yeah, sorry. Puzzle. Yeah, Antonio Guterres, Secretary General. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sumanji, for your comments. Yes, we only have one place to stay. We are not going Mars. We are not Elon Musk. So let's make something which we have here better. Fazil says, seems like you applied all carbon neutral strategy. It's more influential than earlier video by. Thank you so much, Fazil. Yeah, I hope I was able to do that. All right. Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
We have a question actually. Someone has raised their hand.
Okay.
Aslam, I guess. Please unmute yourself, Aslam, so we can hear it from you.
Sure.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Aslam.
Would you highlight something on building envelope system, energy saving, natural resources,
So, are you
elevation, decorative elements like the building you showed in Mumbai that is renovated, restored?
Okay. So the building which I showed you, as per the study which was conducted after the retrofitting of the envelope as well as the systems, they were able to reduce the load or the consumption by 30%, which is very high because this building was at least 75 years old.
Yes.
That is telling you that we need to think of buildings like a living being as well, क्योंकि उसको भी जरूरत है. It undergoes wear and tear and
weathering conditions.
Yes, So I think that is the message that I would want to give. I hope.
So what other system you can promote or support from your end?
I mean, are you talking regarding only the facade?
No, the facade and the energy efficiency.
So there are quite a few systems and the methods that you can adopt. Ventilated facade is one of them. Then just adding, I would say, weather shade is also one of the strategies. But you need to properly understand and firstly that how much lighting level are you getting inside, so that you can decide whether you need to change the glass. Because earlier, if the building is so old, then only single glaze unit would be there. So probably changing the window, adding the uh, solar control device, as well as any ventilated facade or insulation, uh, that would probably improve the performance of the facade. And I mean, there are a lot of systems, but I think essentially you can cover these three, and you can choose from the options which are available to you.
Do you recommend any for insulation?
Insulation, so there are quite a few products. I mean, terracotta tiles is one of them, which can be used uh, directly. Utilize. I mean, I've seen some buildings utilize. So there are tiles which people use are dry cladding, and then behind it there is insulation as well. So you can choose different options, but that depends on the aesthetics as well sometimes. So it's completely open, I think.
And how about externally insulated finishing system?
So you're saying about the paint or something?
No, the insulation with the paint, with the finish.
So there are high SRI paints which are now available. So it is like you have uh, white cool roofs. Now you have white or lighter shade paints or textures that you can apply, which is having SRI value somewhere around more than 78 or something like that. So that will re-radiate the heat back, and which is a simple solution, and that can be straight away used if you want.
And the insulation materials?
Materials, there can be, I mean, XPS is there. Then cheapest one is thermocol, but you have to seal properly. And there are quite a few. I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, I will not recommend straight away because I don't need the project in which you are thinking to apply to. But
Yes.
It depends basically on where the project is and how much
Yes.
insulation you even need. And do you need it or not?
No, we have around quarter century experience with this kind of system, and a successful one.
Okay. Okay.
Externally insulating a building envelope, including the roof, the walls, the soffit, and a crack-free system, taking into consideration the required U value, the dew point factor, and so on.
Maybe you can share it with us, whatever experience you have, so that we can involve it in our projects.
Sure, in the future we will, but I would like to even share the same with the webinar with the people who are here.
Sure, I think we can do that.
But right now I'm not prepared.
No,
if
it's
I could have given a small presentation kind of.
Yeah, I think Pavitra, you can take a note of this.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get in touch with Aslam after the webinar.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have more questions over here in the chat box. So someone asked, sir, embedded energy is more for terracotta tile, right?
What are you comparing it with? So
it's
I mean,
Tazan Ibrahim. If you're here, please unmute yourself so we can hear it from you.
That because I was put under a radar of what you can use, but there are different options that you can use from. Tasin, if you can unmute yourself, I mean, yes, definitely. Oh, unable to unmute. Pavitra, can you?
Yeah, I just, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, so you were telling like we can use screening or
Mm-hmm.
insulation, like we can use it as a terracotta can be an option for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asking like if you are using some kind of AC kind of granular block, comparing to that, the terracotta will be having more embedded energy, right?
No, I'm saying I was talking for the treatment over an existing wall. The terracotta tile that you get, which is 10 to 12 thick, and some we have perforated one as well. So either that, and if you compare it with ACP or any other type of cladding, the embodied energy would be quite low.
Okay,
So I was considering that.
okay, so okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have Fazil over here with a question.
Okay.
Jian, hi Jian.
Hi.
Jian, one more strategy or technology is there called district energy system,
Yes.
district cooling or district
Yes.
heating. It is, I think it is ranked top in among other strategies what you all listed so far.
It can be. I mean, I was just concentrating on single building, but when we move towards community and
Community, yes,
collection of a
exactly. That
building,
is the only thing. Yeah,
then
that is the only
definitely
criteria.
we
It should
can.
be a community, yes, community of high-rise buildings.
Yeah, definitely. So one example I can straight away quote is from Toronto. So there is Lake Ontario, and
Yes.
what they are doing is that they are utilizing the water from the lake itself directly into the buildings, because it is already at a temperature which is something that the chiller gives out.
Yes, exactly. Something, and the central cooling plants also will be there.
Yeah.
They
In
will
Dubai and all of those
with underground
cities.
insulated pipes. They will pump it to the buildings nearby.
No, definitely that's a future system, and I think when
In
the
India, it is
collective
not there
neighborhood
so far.
India, I don't think it is there.
No, it is not. It is not.
But
It's still in discussion. It's still in talk. Hopefully, in future it will come.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
Thanks, Father.
No.
We have a question in the chat box. So it's from Akshay Kumar Tyagi. He's asking, how can individual houses be taken up as carbon neutral project? Budget is a constraint. So.
Okay. So budget is always a constraint. But I don't think, I mean, see, firstly, reduce it passively as much as you can, the energy usage. And budget only comes into picture when you are installing active systems. But if you understand payback and the actual contribution of making a carbon neutral project, then I mean it is gonna be cheaper actually in the future. So let's say you're installing solar panels, and which is taking care of all of your energy needs. So in the 3 years or 4 years time, I mean you're gonna cover all the cost, and then you are self-reliant actually. So it is difficult a little when you try to convince the client, because the client would say कि ये तो मैंने सोचा ही नहीं था, or it might be a little more investment, but I don't think that they would deny if you tell them what they are really wanting to achieve. I hope it answers the question, but if not, you can unmute Pavitra and can take it forward.
Sure. So also, time is a constraint right now. We'll just take 1 or 2 more questions and then we'll just move on, if that's fine.
Sure.
So we had a question from Sharia when you were displaying the wedding video. So
Okay.
he's asking, what were the challenges you faced commencing the ideology?
I mean, I think I did not face much resistance, but I had to explain to everyone in my family what actually is going to happen on that day or before that. So luckily it started 1 month before, and I mean, firstly explaining the term itself took some time, but the things that had to come later, I think once people understood it, people were also recommending कि ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं. So So the glasses that you saw in the video, so we actually bought glasses and then we gave away the glasses as well because we did not want paper waste. So glasses were bought. Paper plates we thought about earlier, but then again it takes a lot of time to decompose. So we took plates which were washable, and then that washable water eventually goes. So we had a wedding on the plot where there were a lot of trees. So it eventually recharges the ground level, and we used green chemicals to clean with such that the plant does not die. So very small things that you miss out actually. So so there's a lot of initiatives we took, but initially I would say it was a little tough. But then once people understood it, I think it picked up with everyone. I mean, they were very considerate that this thing needs to happen and all of that. So yeah, thanks.
That's right. So, Jian, actually, we do have a lot of questions. Is there a option to answer these offline? Will you be open for it? Because there are a lot of questions, and I think they're very useful. So maybe we'll take this offline some other time, and then we'll. Yeah.
Sure. I can continue as well right now if you don't have a restriction, but otherwise I can do it offline. Whatever is fine.
Yeah, we do have a restriction, and then there's one small session after this as well by our founders. So we'll tell you how to do it offline, and then we have all the questions in the chat box. So if you have any questions, you can also put it there, and we'll take it to Jian and answer it, and then email you guys.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next session, we just have a small. Let me just screen share. So also I need to make the announcement. So our upcoming webinar is with Mr. Jagdish Singh. The details are yet to be disclosed. We'll shortly discuss with him and then get a time and date topic for you all, and then we'll email you all. In the meanwhile, you can stay connected with us in the social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're very active over there, and you can also message us there in the DM. We're always there for you. Right now, I'm going to pass it on to Karan, who is a CEO and founder. He's done a lot of accreditations as well in Lead AP, and he's also done a mini MBA. And this was his dream project. So let's hear it from him and how C3 can help you all in your careers. Hi, Karan. Are you here? Yeah.
Yeah, hello. Yeah. So am I audible?
Yes, Karan.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, a great session by Mr. Jian. Jian, thank you for presenting an amazing insights and a deep knowledge. And it was really meaningful. The intention what the C3 has started about the educational webinars. And I feel that you had now directly given a huge start for these things. So thank you, and many deep insights about, and yes, last not least, your carbon neutral wedding is, I think, a lifetime inspiration to many of the people, not for this generation, but also for the next generation as well. And that's a really, really good. I appreciate. And to just all the participant over here. So being a founder and the part of C3 Collaborative, I'm deeply grateful for all of you that you all spend 1.5 hours for attending this series and give us more confidence that people are more interested to know about the educations and how good that people are within the community have so much to share with each other. And this is what the intention about. Firstly, just I want to ask many people who are not the member of C3 and have joined for the first time. So if you joined for the first time, just write new in chat, so that I will just recommend that there are how many people are joining for the first time and not knowing about C3. Yes, Nitin, Vibash, Architect Haishan, Pooja. I think many people are new. I think a lot of people are there. So, okay, I'll just take a few minutes to understand everyone that C3 is basically a consortium collaboration platform for AEC people. Now, we all know AEC is architecture, engineering, and construction. Here we connect all the project owners and the client to AEC professional across the world. And we don't only connect them, we also provide them digital workflow about C3, where their C3 works on milestone-based systems. Here, all the professional can connect their profile and just Pavitra, can you just move your slides? Yeah. Here, every professional have to create their profile and they have to complete their profile by adding the portfolios about their ongoing or offgoing works. So by these things, we create a community of AEC, and all the people can get chance to meet new clients. And also we conduct many webinar series, as we now introduce Gian, is a crucial member of C3, and we would like to all of you invite you to be part of our community, so you all get updated for all the webinar, for all the new project inquiries, and many more events ahead. So, and also we like to send a feedback form after these sessions, which please spend 1-2 minutes more that give us more insights about how we could improve more and how we could make you more profitable and give you maximum benefits from C-Trade. Thank you once again. As we are restricted to time, I need to conclude. And with this, we conclude this webinar, and I'm surely Gian will connect with you offline. And our team will provide you all the details of the Gian, his LinkedIn profile as well, and you all can get connected. And if you want to know more about C3, please join us and contact us. We will be there for definitely for you. Thank you.
Thank you all. See you in the next
Pavitra?
session. Yeah. Thank you.